Hi, this is Brian Apavu. I'm making this video from Heber, Arizona, where I'm doing a little bit of a run slash hike near a trail by a cabin we have here. And I thought I'd try a video like this to share. Today is September, well, what is it? What is it? That's not September 11th, it's 12th, 13th. I think it might be September 13th. Yeah, Saturday, September 13th, because I think the 15th is a Monday. So Saturday, September 13th, 2025. We had a really unique week in terms of American culture and American news. The last weekend there was a video released of a young lady, Irina Zarutska, who was brutally murdered on a subway train in Charlotte, North Carolina. And there was lots of discussion about that. And slowly, over the course of the week, there were a series of videos. It was an original video, and then there were a series of videos that came out that demonstrated that the manner in which she died. She was stabbed by another individual, and of African American descent, and that's very relevant to a lot of people for reasons I don't want to focus on for the purpose of this video. But there were other individuals in the train, and I think what was really a problem, what was really horrific, was that in the videos that you could see, nobody really came to help her over a 90-second period. She experienced trauma. She remained conscious after being stabbed in the neck, and then she showed her horror. She seemed lonely, and she succumbed very shortly. But she had a moment where she was conscious, and she demonstrated the shock of what happened to her, and then she passed away alone. So I think that evoked a lot of emotion out of a lot of people, and it was absolutely horrific, and it evoked a lot of emotion. And the other thing that happened just days after is a prominent political figure and commentator, Charlie Kirk, was assassinated in a university in Utah. And that's really 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 led to a lot of emotion over by a lot of different people on both political sides of the spectrum, over the last couple of days. And social media has definitely focused on him and people's reaction to his death over the last couple of days. I think there are people unfortunately, we work along political divisions. We think along political divisions. We are really acclimated to being part of teams and joining teams and taking sides of teams. And as a result of that, there are just, people have different reactions to him because he was clearly on the political right. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But he was also a father with 3 children. And there's just a lot of posts right now. And we're all reacting very differently from this. And I think that's where I want to get to, is this concept of empathy. So what is empathy? Empathy is our capacity to understand what somebody is going through. And that is, empathy has to do with emotion. It has to do with intellect. It has to do with the logos as well as the ethos. And I think there are really important, and we get frustrated when others don't experience empathy the same way that we do. And there are important concepts to empathy that people don't talk about. And that's kind of the focus I want to talk about today in this video. So one thing that we really have to acknowledge, which we don't, is that empathy is a limited experience. We are limited in our ability to provide empathy. I think of ourselves as we are matter. We as human beings are matter with respect to time and energy, and we have agency and sovereignty and the capacity to transform that energy across time and space with what we do. And empathy is part logical and part emotional. It's part of the ethos and the logos. We understand it. It's formulated from our background and what we've experienced in our own life. For me, I'm the daughter of 3 girls. I see Irina Zarutska die alone, and I feel absolute empathy for her, because I think about the girls in my own life as well as my own wife. With Charlie Kirk, no matter what I think about his political opinions, he's the father of children. He values. He has demonstrated in his life that he cherishes and values the family unit. I am very much the same way, and he, his family lost him as a father, and that absolutely, I absolutely have a feeling for that. There are others that don't feel the same way, and their shared experience is different. Now, don't get me wrong. If you celebrate death, I think that's evil. I think that's a part of something evil. But I think one of the things we don't appreciate and don't recognize amongst each other is that, there are situations where if we don't feel emotion and empathy the same way as someone else, we're made to feel guilty about that. And I think that's a problem. There was a lot of desire for people to experience empathy after George Floyd died. And there was a lot of desire, there is this idea that you need to feel guilt if you did not experience empathy for that situation the same way others do. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. I might get lost in this video, but we'll see. There's a lot of guilt in terms of how, people are made to feel guilty about how they felt about, their experience of seeing George Floyd get murdered. And I mean, we're all going to feel it very differently. I can understand why certain people who are more close to him and his community and people like him are going to feel it differently than people who aren't. And I think we have to, and the same thing with Charlie Kirk's situation, or Irina Zarutska, we're all going to feel empathy differently. And we also are very limited. Like, there's tons of people, there's joy and sadness happening all over the world, and we can't process everything. We can't provide attention to everything. We are going to be, we're limited by, our own capacity to provide empathy. I, as a physician, I've dealt with hundreds of brain injuries in children, talked to hundreds of families over the last 8 years, and they mourn, and I get it, and I feel empathy at times, especially when their children look like my own. Especially, I won't lie, like if an Indian family loses a child and they speak Tamil, and I hear my parents and my family's language, I mean, I absolutely feel an emotion to that. So my degree of the empathy that I feel absolutely changes, and that's normal. And if for others to not feel it the way I do, that's totally fine. And we're not the problem is we're not accepting that everyone's emotional reaction to something is different. And emotion is a lot like knowledge, right? If you lack knowledge in something, you can do 2 things. You can learn and gain skills and increase that knowledge and then be able to solve a problem, or you can leverage experts. You can leverage people who are not experts in that domain, or who are experts while you're not, and then they can help solve the problem. And they may solve the problem with you with a collaboration. And that same thing applies to empathy. We are not always in a good place that we can provide the empathy that somebody needs because our background is not the same, and we can rely on others. Or if we have the time, energy, and attention and capacity, we can spend the time and invest ourselves into another individual to understand their experience, see where we carry shared backgrounds, shared values, and then our level of empathy increases. I say all this because I think one of the biggest problems we have in our world is imitative empathy. Imitative empathy is where we end up pretending that we are devastated by something that we really don't actually feel devastated about. People die on the other side of the world. I don't know their community. I don't know who they are. I don't know them. I don't know who destroyed their lives. I can pretend that I'm shocked, appalled, angered, disgusted, but I am really, am I? I mean, am I if I don't really know them and understand them? I mean, conceptually, it's a terrible situation, but I'm not going to feel it the same way if I don't understand them, and I think that's totally okay. We're guilted, however, in lots of situations, especially in politics and especially with social media. You know, if you're compelled to like post something on your profile or something else, but you may not feel it, and it doesn't mean that people under tragedy don't deserve empathy. It just may not be. You just may not be in this position to provide it genuinely, and that is okay. That is okay. You can leverage people who do. If you have the time, energy, and attention, you could take it on, and recognize that not everybody else can take that on, and that is so important in our world. I think a lot of our problems that we're experiencing right now are the guilting of others who don't experience empathy the same way that we do. I think there's a lot of problems with fake empathy, because fake empathy leads to being, and we do that within ourselves. We feel guilt, and then we practice imitative empathy rather than genuine empathy. And when we do that, we end up agreeing with politicians or legislature or different things that cause more harm than good, because we don't understand it. We don't understand it at all. And there are people in this world with power who are ready to exploit that. So I think the world needs genuine empathy, and it needs a recognition that empathy is an authentic experience, it's a limited experience, it's resource intensive, and it requires a background and energy. And the world needs less imitative energy. We need people to say what they know, to provide what they can, and to leverage each other when it's appropriate. So I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to try to make some of these, especially when I'm in a pretty area with a nice drive, and hopefully I don't get lost, but we'll see. I'm going to try to have breakfast with my wife and kids, hopefully on time. But if you like this video, please, if you like it and subscribe to my channel. If you're on YouTube, if this is on Nostr, I think stats are definitely appreciated. I'm trying to see where I'm going to go with this in terms of posting videos. I really do like Nostr better than YouTube, so we'll see where I go with all this stuff. But you guys have a wonderful day.